Welcome to another Cortecloud tutorial, and this time we will discuss how the materials are applied and configured in different cabinets in Cortecloud's library. So first of all, I'm going to cortecloud.com. I'm going to choose my country, in this case United States, and I'm gonna log in my account. If you haven't created your account yet, you just click register and you can create your account for free and start using Cortecloud right away. All right, I'll create a new order. I'll use modules and select my cut-to-size service provider. I'll insert my client's name, which is John. And I'm going to select this two-door base cabinet. Define my room, kitchen. I'll just ignore the measurements and preferences and jump right into the boards and edges section, which you can find here just below preferences. So let's have a look at the different applications of the materials we can configure in our cabinet. So basically the cabinet section would define the sides and bottom materials of boards and edge band as well. If you go to stretchers, you can define the boards and edge bands for the stretchers, shelves and front as well. So first of all, I can see that no material is applied to this cabinet because I get this raw texture. So I can see that no board is applied because the texture is of a board without melamine. So I'll just begin by hitting select board, and another clue we have on that is because we haven't selected our boards and edges. So you can see select board and select edge in all of the applications. First of all, I'm gonna hit select board and use a 3/4 of an inch board. I can change the thickness if I want, but in my case, I'll use white 3/4. Let's just get this board. And as soon as I select the board, it gets applied to all of the applications. So my cabinet structure, sides and bottom, stretcher, shelves and front, all of them, they share the same material in this case, because Cortecloud speeds up the process and fills all the materials with the same board we have chosen on the first application. We can change that later. We are going to change that later. So moving on with the edge band, you can see that the texture is still raw on the side of the boards. Doors, sides, stretcher, all of them, we haven't applied the edge band. So that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to select edge. In this case, I'll select 1 mil thick edge band, and I'm going to type in white as well. So white texture, as soon as I select the edge band, it gets applied to the parts. You can notice that the back hasn't been selected yet because the back usually is produced with another kind of board. In my case, I'll choose a 1/4 board and type in white. And as you can see, it gets applied to the back as well. If I want to apply a 3/4 board to the back, I just hit this one, which is a recent material that I've used in my project. And you can see that the board is thick and we have a dado back here. So I've just changed the thickness of the board by hitting a recent material. In my case, I'm gonna go back to the 1/4. I'm gonna type in white again and choose a 1/4 back to this cabinet. Okay, moving on to the fronts. I don't want the fronts to be white as well as the entire cabinet. So I'm just going to the front. I'm going to select 3/4 as well. And now select slate from Ultrapan. And as you can see, the board changes immediately. Now I'm gonna select the edge band, which is still white. And I'm gonna select the 1 mil slate as well. As you can see, I have chosen the gray high gloss, slate gray high gloss. So that's the same color I need to choose here, slate gray high gloss. And there you have it, the same board color and the same edge band color applied to the front. So you get the idea that changing the boards and edge bands for each application, you get a different aesthetic. Just another example, I'm gonna change the edge band from the side to slate high gloss as well. So I'm just going to cabinet here, to the cabinet application, and I'm gonna select slate high gloss, which is gonna apply the edge band to the sides. As you notice, this stretcher hasn't got the slate applied to it because I need to do the same thing at the stretchers. So I'm going to edge band, stretchers, and apply the slate as well. Okay, one important thing when changing stretchers materials. If I go to preferences, advanced, stretchers, and I change the frontal stretcher orientation, so if I put it in a vertical position like this, you can see that the material, the board, is going to be white, and you don't want that kind of aesthetics in your cabinet. So I'm going to the stretcher, and in this case, I'm going to apply the 3/4 slate gray as well. So there you have the color applied to the stretcher according to the front. So in Cortecloud, you can see that by changing the preferences, you need to make some changes in the materials to make your cabinet look great. Okay, I'll go back to the horizontal stretcher, and I'm gonna select the white board to it. So I'm gonna leave my configuration like this. That's the look I want for my cabinet. I'm gonna hit save. I'll select a drawer-based cabinet, this one. And you can notice that no board and no edge band is applied to the drawer's front and to the drawer structure. Why is that so? Because we haven't selected any kind of drawer fronts nor drawer structures in our previous cabinet. So the base cabinet with 2 doors, it doesn't have a drawer application, nor it has a drawer structure application. That's why the drawers and the drawer front and drawer bottom as well are not selected. So I'm going to boards, and I'm going to select the white board. It's going to apply to the fronts and to the structure. And white, I'll apply to everything. And for the bottom, I'm going to select the 1/4 white solid as we did in the first cabinet. So as I said, Cortecloud speeds up the process by fitting the material to every application that hasn't been selected yet. But in my case, I don't want the drawer fronts to be white. So I just select the slate high gloss and the edge band slate high gloss as well. This is going to give me the look I want to my cabinet, right? So the stretchers, as you can see, the stretchers and the cabinet structure, they inherited the materials from the previous cabinet because we do have the cabinet and the stretcher application in our first cabinet, okay? So basically Cortecloud inherits everything he recognizes from the first cabinet, and in the next cabinet, if we don't have the application, in our case the drawer front and the drawer structure, we have to fill it manually. Okay, I'll hit save, and now let's move on to a finishing. I'll select a top finish. As you can see, the finishing inherits the boards and edge bands from the structure, from the cabinet. So that's why the wrapping, so to say, is white. In my case, I'm going to apply the high gloss, slate gray, and in preferences, I'm going to make some thicknessing. I'm going to apply all sides. I want this finishing to be thicknessed on all sides. So that's the result I'm going to get, okay? As you can see, I can do this in a single standing part or in a part in a module that's independent from the cabinet. Let's go back to the cabinet and see how it works when we configure the finishing or the thicknessing in the cabinet. I'm going to save and go back to the 2-door base cabinet. I go to Preferences, Advanced, and I'll choose Produce Wrapping, yes. Make slats on all sides. or strips, as Cortecloud points out to us. Okay, so I have this finishing, this wrapping on the cabinet structure, right? And now, as soon as we do that, we can see that the wrapping or this new application is added to the cabinet. Okay, so I can change the color. I'm going to apply beige to the boards and beige to the edge band. Okay, so now you have it. We've created a different application, which is wrapping, by adding the finishing to this cabinet, and we've configured also a different material for this application. So you can see that depending on the preferences you set on your cabinet, the materials are going to respond, adding new applications to the piece of furniture. Okay, if I go back to preferences and I choose not to produce any finishing on this cabinet, and I go produce wrapping no, you can see that the wrapping application is gonna vanish. As well, if I go to preferences, advanced, back, and I choose no back, the back application, the back material application is gonna vanish as well. And I can do that as well on the shelves. If I go to basic and I put no shelves, 0 shelves, you can see that the shelves application is going to vanish as well. So you get an idea that depending on your configurations, depending on your preferences, different materials are going to be required for you to specify, or those materials are going to vanish because you don't need to specify them because you've just removed the parts that receive those materials on your cabinet. Moving on to our slatted panel. Let's type in slatted panel just to finish and get the idea of this different application. As you can see, no boards and no edge bands is specified in this module because we haven't used any panel application on the previous cabinets. I'm going back to my menu and define white for the structure. So I want this back panel to be white, and the filler, I want it to be slate gray. Okay. On my preference, I'll just put some spacing for you to see that the back panel is white and the filler or the slat is slate gray. You can notice that no edge band is required for this panel. So if I go to advanced, edge band application, and I can choose to apply edge band on the sides. So I want both sides to be edge banded. And on the spaces, I want edge band on both sides as well. So this creates the edge band specification here on the material section. In my case, I want the filler to be slate gray and the panel to be slate gray as well. Oops, I've made a mistake here. You can see that I've configured the edge band to be applied on the length, and I don't want the length. I want the width to be edge banded. That's the result I want. Okay, so basically if you change the configuration, you get different parts of the panel edge banded. So that's it. I'm gonna hit save. So this is a quick review, a quick explanation of how materials, boards and edges are applied to different applications on your cabinetry using Cortecloud's library. Remember that according to your preferences, you need to specify materials, specify different boards and edge bands for each application. Remember also to review all the boards and edges applied to each cabinet to avoid production mistakes, because material application can get complicated if your project is large and you don't want parts to be edge banded or produced in different materials. You may also find different material applications in different cabinets in Cortecloud, but you get the idea. You just have to specify different materials for different applications and you can see the changes on the fly. So just remember to compare the specification you've chosen on the material section and the 3D representation of the cabinet. So I hope you find this useful. If you have any questions or comments, just let us know on the comments down below, and I hope to see you soon in our next tutorial.